Hey vinyl friends and vinyl community, it's Brian from Brian's Vinyl Records, and I'm back with another episode of Artist Spotlight. Now if you watched my last Vinyl Editions episode, you saw that I picked up a box set from Def Leppard, so I thought, why not do Def Leppard as my Artist Spotlight? So we'll go through all the records I have from Def Leppard, and I'll give you a little more in-depth look at the Def Leppard box set that I picked up, Volume 2. So stick around after the break, we'll get right into it. Alright, welcome back. So, as I mentioned last time on my episode of Vinyl Editions, I had picked up a box set from Def Leppard. So I figured, why not do this episode here? So this is the box set that I picked up. It's called the Albums Vinyl Collection 2. It covers everything from Adrenalize all the way through Euphoria, and also contains 2 albums of rare cuts and live tracks. So we'll get into this at the end of the episode here, talking about what's in this box set and everything else. But first, let's go through what albums from Def Leppard I currently have in my collection. So here we go. We're going to start off with this one. This is the Def Leppard EP. This was originally released, I believe, in 1979. And at the time, Def Leppard hadn't been signed to a major contract yet, so they released it on their own label, and they actually put these together by hand making all the covers here, and so that was kind of what they did. This is the reissue that came out a couple years ago for Record Store Day that they did, so obviously these are not handcrafted or anything like that. These are pretty well put together, but it's kind of cool that they ended up putting this out. It's very rare to have an actual original of this, as it was only released twice before this one. They did release it another time as a reissue type thing, and then of course for Record Store Day, which is when I picked it up. But it's kind of cool. It's only got 3 songs on it: Ride Into the Sun, Get Your Rocks Off, and the Overture. And I believe the Overture would make an appearance later on one of their albums, but this is cool to have. So this is 1979's The Def Leppard EP. Up next is their first major record release, and we're talking, of course, about the album On Through the Night. This is 1980 from Def Leppard, and this is the first album that they're going to release on Mercury label, which is going to be their label pretty much. I think it is still their label to this date. So this is On Through the Night. I love this cover. A lot of people may not like this cover, but I think it's kind of cool. You got the moon over here. You got a big truck hauling a huge Gibson guitar here, which is really cool. Def Leppard logo up in the corner. I don't know, it's simple, but I think it's effective, just showing that they're a rockin' band that doesn't worry about traveling around and getting places. They're touring a lot. I like the cover. I think it's really cool. This one has Rock Brigade, which has been a song that they continue to play on their tours. It has the song Rocks Off and Overture, like I said. I believe Overture for sure is the same song that's on the EP, and I think Rocks Off is Get Your Rocks Off on the EP as well. So good to see that they kept at least 2 of the songs here and put them on this album. So here's Def Leppard's On Through the Night, 1980. And of course, after that, we follow that up with High and Dry from 1981. A classic, iconic cover here. Interesting stuff. But this is a great album too, and this one has one of my favorite Def Leppard songs on it, which is Bringing on the Heartache. Love that Def Leppard song. This one is a pretty good, nice copy that I have here. It's an original, or at least early reissue. I can't remember exactly, but it's an early reissue at least, and it's in really good shape. I got it for a really good price, so I'm really happy to have this one. This is High and Dry. Everybody knows this next one. This was their breakout. This is the one that made them who they are. This is Pyromania. And of course, you got classic songs, Rock Rock Till You Drop, Photograph, which is another favorite of mine, Too Late for Love, which is a huge, massive hit for them, Rock of Ages, just an absolutely fantastic album. Another iconic cover for Def Leppard, really cool stuff. I love having this in my collection, again, in really good shape. Picked this up used about a year or two ago, and real happy to have that as well. This is the album that really got me into Def Leppard back in the day, and is probably their most commercially successful album ever. This is Hysteria. It took a long time to make, as many people know the story. Drummer Rick Allen was involved in a car accident, unfortunately, and he lost his arm, or motorcycle accident I should say, lost his arm in that, and had to learn how to drum with just one arm. A lot of electronic drums, using a lot of his feet, and to this day still uses a lot of that kind of stuff. He's gone a lot less off the electronics these days and has used his foot as kind of a second hand instead, which is really neat to see. So really cool, great album. It took him a long time to make because of all sorts of different things that were going on with the band at the time, but really awesome album. And this is the reissue that came out, I think, 2 years ago, and it sounds absolutely fantastic, and it's just really kicks butt. All right, now we're getting into what's in the box set. So the first album, of course, and I got to get them in order here. The first album is Adrenalize. This one's big for me. I've wanted this for a long time, and unfortunately it costs an arm and a leg to get on vinyl. So I'm very happy that it comes in this box set that I picked up. And I went to see Def Leppard on this tour in 1992. They came around to the State Fair here in Minnesota and played with the opening act of Ugly Kid Joe, who were just taking off at the time, so that was really fun to see. And so I've always really liked this album. I know there's a lot of people who thought it was kind of weak and too poppy for Def Leppard, but I think it's really good. I like a lot of the songs on this album. I really dug the lead single, which was Let's Get Rocked. And so for me, I'm super excited to finally have this in my collection. So very good stuff. Next, of course, we have Retroactive. This is the last Def Leppard album really that I bought going forward. Just didn't pay attention to them at the time. I mean, the music direction had really started to change at the time that this album came out, and subsequent albums that they put out. So they kind of got lost in the shuffle after this, which is too bad because this album is really fantastic. It's got, of course, Two Steps Behind, which was included on the Last Action Hero soundtrack, and is an absolutely fantastic song. This actually has two versions, I think, of Two Steps Behind on it. It's got the one that everyone knows, which is, they call it the acoustic version, and it's got an electric guitar version of it. Not as much of a big fan as on the electric guitar version of it personally. It's just not, to me, that great of a version. But, I'm glad that they included both, because had they just included the electric version and you had to go get the Last Action Hero soundtrack to get the acoustic version, I think that would have upset a lot of fans. So a really good album. This is a double LP in here, so there's two albums in here that are double LP. This is one of them. Just real good listen. Sounds amazing on vinyl. Up next, this one I believe was from 1996, if I'm not mistaken. This is Def Leppard's Slang, and like I said before, by the time this came out, the whole scene in music had completely changed. Grunge music and alternative rock had really taken over the airwaves, and bands like Def Leppard, Poison, all those hair metal type bands that are lumped in together from the 80s and early 90s really didn't get a whole lot of radio airplay. MTV was pretty much transitioned away from music videos at the time, so there wasn't a lot of support on music videos for bands who used them quite successfully in the past. And so for me, I had never really heard this album until I got this box set. I've heard about it. I've heard it's really good. Really, this is the first album to feature Vivian Campbell on it in the recordings, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he may have played on Retroactive, but they used a lot of the songs that Steve Clark had written with them still in that. So this features some songs that Vivian Campbell had co-written as well. So I don't know. Maybe he played on Retroactive. I can't remember. I'd have to look at the credits, but for sure, it's kind of good to see this is really his breakthrough album for them. Fantastic album. I'm glad that I finally have this. Again, this is the first time that this album itself has been released on vinyl in this box set, so really cool about that. And then, of course, we have Euphoria. First time on vinyl as well for this album. This is a double LP version of this album. I had not heard it. A lot of people compare it to Adrenalize as far as songs go. They have a lot of that same feel as Adrenalize. I really dig this album, and the sound quality on it is absolutely marvelous when listening to it. Very happy with it. So cool to have this. Again, another one I am not familiar with. I didn't hear before. I don't know if I really know any of the songs on here. I'm just judging by the titles. I don't think I had heard any of them before. But very cool. Happy to have. It's got the gatefold cover, which is really nice. Really cool stuff in the back here. Everything in this box set comes on black vinyl, so no color vinyl, which is fine with me. Really cool. So awesome to have this. And then, of course, this one's their most recent release. This is their self-titled album, Def Leppard. This came out, I believe, in 2015. A really good album. I really enjoyed it. This one did not come in the box set, so this one I bought separately. But I think it sounds great. A lot of people think it has too much compression in it, and it just doesn't sound that great. I don't know. I mean, it's a double LP set. I think they spaced them out well, and I don't hear it. I think it sounds actually pretty good to me, and I really enjoy the songs on here too. I think they did a great job with this album. And then let's talk a little bit more about this box set. So it comes with this really nice box case, which I think is pretty awesome. And here's all of the different albums and the tracks and everything on it. Cover photographs here. I think that's really cool. Just a really nice, hard, sturdy box that it comes in. And it comes with 2 albums of rare tracks and live tracks. So we got Rarities 2 and Rarities 3. Rarities 1 came in the box set volume 1, which had everything from the Def Leppard EP through Hysteria on it, and then a Rarities EP in there. I do not have Rarities 1 because I have not bought the Volume 1 box set. I don't need it because I had all the albums already, so I just didn't justify that. But the cool thing about these Rarities is you've got some alternate versions and some demo versions of some of the songs that they did here. I'll have to read a little bit more or look a little closely to see if there's anything. I know right here we got a song called Move Me Slowly that's called a bonus track. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more bonus tracks. So 7 bonus tracks on Rarities 3. 1, 2, 3 bonus tracks on Rarities 2. So those would be tracks that weren't on albums before. So that's really cool. Some demo takes on here, which are kind of fun to listen to see what the song was originally intended to be before they got in there and kind of produced everything and added different tracks and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. And then, of course, a bunch of live tracks come in here. Some tracks from Germany, some tracks from Singapore. On this one we have Montreal and Denver. So ranging to the Germany was 92, Singapore 95, Montreal 96, and Denver 99, Tokyo 99. So different concerts, different eras or time frames of the band. I think that's really cool as well. So those come in the box set. And then, of course, the cool part about the box set is it has this really nice hardcover book that comes with it. And in this book, they have all sorts of different tidbits of information, some credits for each of the albums that are included in here. So you can see here we got Adrenalize and some photos from the Adrenaline merchandise type things and singles. Some photos of the concert tour for Adrenalize are included in here. And then, of course, we talk about the personnel, the songs, the credits, everything is all in here, and they do that for each album. So it's really neat, and they also include the Rarities portion of that. The only complaint I have is going with a hardcover is the spines rip so easily, and I've already got my spine ripped So that just bugs me. I like hardcover. It's really cool. It looks nicer. It looks sturdier. But if you're going to include something like this in a box set, I think I would probably have preferred that they made this a soft cover book, because the binding would have been a little better. So already out of the box, first open, my binding had ripped. And so I just got to be very careful when opening and looking at this, because I plan to read everything in here. But I got to be careful that I don't rip any pages out now. So I'm a little upset about that, but otherwise, pretty cool. Overall, though, as far as a box set goes, absolutely fantastic. The price I paid was phenomenal. If we look at it in any kind of way, $160 is what I ended up paying for it. It's $260 normally, and currently on different sites you can get it anywhere in the range of $200 to approximately $225. So that's what you're spending. But for me, I got 4 albums that I didn't have, plus 2 albums of rarities, and in essence, I paid in the mid-20s per album. You could say. Plus, I got a nice box and a nice book to go along with it. So, to me, I think that was definitely worth the money I paid for it, and it's a very cool thing to have. I put this up on the shelf, which you can't see, but there's a shelf above the Be Awesome Today sign that you see there that has my box sets up there. I've got Prince, I've got Michael Jackson, I've got now I've got Def Leppard here as well. So I kind of display my box sets a little higher up here throughout the room, and it's just a cool looking piece. So very excited to have it, very happy to have it, and yeah. So that's a look at my Def Leppard collection. I think that's every album that they've ever put out. So I think I have all that. Very excited to have all that. So if you're a Def Leppard fan and you are on the fence about going with the Def Leppard Volume 2 vinyl box set, I would say wait for a deal. Amazon, I think, had it almost down to as low as $208 at one point. So keep your eye out for something like that. I think it's worth the money, especially if you're a fan and you really like those later albums and want to have them on vinyl. Worth the dollars to spend on there. So go ahead and splurge a little when you can, because it's a cool box set to have. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Artist Spotlight. Check out the previous episodes I've done. I've got AC/DC, The Beatles, and Blackberry Smoke all highlighted in our Artist Spotlights. Let me know what you think of the series, what you think of this episode in the comments below. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. I would deeply appreciate it. And leave a comment or a question below as well. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep spinning vinyl, friends.